Welcome to Notebook 31, Human and AI Messages. In this notebook, you're going to learn about two of the core chat message types, namely human and AI messages. And you're going to learn how using LangChain to use them explicitly in your application code. By the time you complete this notebook, you'll be able to make explicit the role-based messaging system utilized by chat variant LLMs. And you're also going to learn how to use chat prompt template from LangChain in a novel way to create human and AI messages in prompt templates explicitly. We'll begin per usual with some imports. We have a couple of new imports here in the form of off of LangChain core messages. We're going to be importing human message and AI message. We'll be looking at using these towards the end of this notebook. Also, per usual, we'll instantiate an instance of our LLM, once again using Chat NVIDIA, and we're using, per usual, our Llama 318B instruct variant model. Okay, so we've touched on this a couple times lightly in the workshop, but let's talk a little bit more about chat messages, and in particular, chat messages in the context of chat variant large language models, also known as instruct variant large language models. There's important differences working with large language models that are of the chat or instruction variety versus large language models that are not of that variety. Primarily, we've pointed out that chat models are intended to be used in a conversational manner, whereas non-chat models primarily aim to generate whatever ought to come next for a given piece of text. Let's talk about this a little bit more. We have a base model, a base large language model. And as you know, we can send text to that model, and the large language model is going to then do its best to predict what kinds of text ought to follow the sequence of text that was sent to it in the prompt. Now, what happens is that people take these base large language models and they take those models and put them through an additional form of model training that we typically call instruction fine-tuning. During instruction fine-tuning, instead of just passing simple text to a model, we begin to send prompts to the model that are formatted in a very specific way. And the details of this specific format are entirely specific to each model that was instruction fine-tuned. But what happens is that during the instruction fine-tuning process, we introduce prompts that contain a structure that indicates the role or several roles that a model might be intended to understand. We're going to look at this, but two of the main roles are the human role and the AI or assistant role. There are other roles such as the system message role. And what happens is during instruction fine-tuning, the model learns that not only should it understand text and what ought to come next, but it also ought to be able to understand the different implications of whether or not a message is indicated as a message coming from a human, whether or not the message it is seeing is an example of an AI message, whether or not the message it's seeing is intended to specify a system message or an overarching role, right? And the model also learns to understand that its responses should be understood in the context of this structure that's introduced to the model during instruction fine-tuning as AI messages, okay? So to summarize, instruction fine-tune models, also known as instruct models, also known as chat models, the kind of model that we're working with in this workshop, those models were trained above and beyond the base model to understand a variety of different kinds of roles and generate responses taking the presence of these roles and messages associated with these roles into account. All right. So continuing back to the text of the notebook, as we've been working with LangChain throughout the workshop, we've been constructing prompts primarily via chat prompt template. And, as the chat in the name chat prompt template implies, prompts constructed with chat prompt template are well suited to creating prompts that work with the expectations of chat models, namely role-based conversational interactions. Later in this notebook, we're going to learn how to leverage our understanding of the various roles involved in chat model interactions. But to begin, let's just revisit some familiar tasks using techniques we've already used in this workshop, but take a deeper look at what's going on under the hood to notice how, in fact, even though we haven't been explicit about defining the roles associated with our messages, let's take the time to notice that our prompts and our chat model's responses have in fact been structured in a way to indicate that they are part of a role-based dialogue. Okay, so to begin with, let's explore human messages, and let's make a very, very simple chat prompt template. As we've been doing earlier in the workshop, we're going to use chat prompt template from template, and you can see all we're doing is providing a placeholder with no other additional context. We know that as a runnable, we can take this prompt template and invoke it. We're going to invoke it to fulfill the prompt parameter with a simple string hello. And now if we take a look at the prompt itself, we see a couple of things. First, we see that in fact this prompt object here is a chat prompt value. And again, not to keep iterating this too many times, but we would assume that this should be used with a chat variant model like the one that we're using today. Additionally, we notice that the chat prompt value has a list of messages, and specifically the message that we provided with the content hello is in fact of a type human message, right? So again, messages in chat dialogue are always associated with a role, and this message that we just created in our prompt is understood to be generated by someone with the role human. Another way to take a look at this, instead of looking at this entire value of the prompt, if we ever just want to drill into the messages, prompts have a toMessages method that we can call just to give us a list of the messages. Here we have a single message in the list, our human message that has the content hello. Okay, so kind of continuing to explore what's happening under the hood and some approaches that we've already taken, let's move on to looking a little more carefully at AI messages. So we're going to create a basic chain. We're going to use the same prompt template we created above, and we're going to pipe that into our large language model. We're intentionally not going to include a string output parser here because we want to look at the full response, which we will get to by invoking our chain, again with a simple prompt that says hello. And if we look at the response right away, that we see that the response is of the type AI message, and it has a content property as well. Here it's the response from the model itself. Okay, so right away we can see that the response from the model, we can take it to understand that it was signified, right, as being generated by some entity with the role of AI and is thus an AI message. Okay, so under the hood in LangChain via chat prompt template, or it would appear that under the hood via LangChain, chat prompt template has been taking care to manage specifying the roles of both our human message prompts and also the AI message model responses. However, LangChain also provides us with easy to use mechanisms for explicit role management. One of the most simple ways to do this is by using a new method, or at least new to us in this workshop, on chat prompt template called from messages. Again, we've been using from template this entire time. Instead, we're going to take a look at from messages. And the from messages method expects a list of messages where each message is going to be a two tuple, with the first value in the two tuple indicating the role associated with the message, and the second value in the two tuple being the content of the message itself. So here we're going to use chat prompt template from messages to recreate the exact same prompt we created above when we were using the from template method. But in this case, because we're using from messages, we have the ability and are going to use it to explicitly state that the prompt that we're sending in is intended to be associated with a human role. So here we use chat prompt template from messages. We're going to invoke it with a list our list is going to contain two tuples, which are to say tuples of length 2. The first item in the tuple is a string where we're going to specify that the role is human. This is a specific string, human, that we use. We wouldn't put like person or some person or capitalized human, right? It expects the string human exactly. And then as the second value in the tuple, this is where we will provide our prompt. Again, in the from messages method, just like the from template method, we can use this bracket syntax to parameterize aspects of the prompt that we want to pass in later when we invoke the prompt, either the prompt itself or in the context of a larger chain. So we will define this prompt template here. And if we invoke the prompt exactly as we did above with the more simple prompt that we created with the from template method, we can see that either looking at the prompt directly or the prompts to messages method that we have the